First things first, welcome to the DocuWare for Employee Management solution. As most of you hopefully are aware, our guys behind the scenes have been working really hard to put together a UK-based new pre-configured solution for employee management. So hopefully you'll see some of the great stuff we had in the old American solution, and hopefully you'll see some really nice new stuff that we've put together ready for the UK market today. I've got a couple of colleagues with me, so Matt's answering some questions, so thank you, Matt, for joining us today. I think Nick's also answering a few questions there as well, so if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the message box there, and of course either Nick or Matt will go ahead and answer your questions for you. I will also leave some time at the end of today's session so that I can call back and answer any questions that are remaining there as well. So everything will be well catered for along the route. So quick introduction, my name's Andy Barnett. I'm the Regional Sales Director for DocuWare here in the UK. Some of you, I've got some familiar faces or familiar names on the call today, so I certainly recognize some of you. For any of you who don't know me, it's great to meet you virtually, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to chat in the future and get to know each other properly. But without further ado, let's jump in and have a look. So a couple of things from today. We are extending our offering, of course, and as we say, we have generated that brand new offering for employee management right here in the UK. So things that are all the Americanisms have been replaced with our way of working and our way of talking, and of course that's constantly engaging as well. So hopefully for any of you working on those HR projects, this is going to give you a really positive start to those projects. Now, as most of you will be aware, within those pre-configured solutions, we try and pack plenty of information in there and plenty of features that are already ready to fire out on your customer base there. So within the HR solution, of course, we're looking at personnel files and these HR processes. This includes things like the centralized access to employee data, bringing all of that personal information into a safe, secure, and of course, compliant location for both your customers and their customers, of course. A seamless recruiting process, so we're going to look through that process of onboarding a new member of staff right the way through from the first idea that we may need to assign some budget and start to get some approvals around that right the way through the process of onboarding into our team. A straightforward offboarding process, should I say. So of course, one thing that was missing from the old solution and has been brought in to this new solution is that we do include an offboarding process. So if you've got people who are either retiring or unfortunately leaving your business, we do have a nice process set there for them to be able to depart from the organization as well. We're starting to nurture the talent pool. So again, that's something that has been available in DocuWare for quite some time. But of course, the idea, if we're not going to hire someone today, then actually maybe we want to hold on to their data. We might want to go back to them at a later date and of course offer them other opportunities once they become available. So we can start to build that talent pool. Now, of course, that does include some of those retention policies and things so that we can make sure we're only holding on to people's data for as long as we should be. Obviously, DocuWare is always there to support you and make sure that we're making your life as easy as physically possible. We've got quite a nice reminder for things like birthdays and anniversaries. So of course, when we start to get people within our business, we want to show them that we're a nice, friendly organization to work for, and those little reminders, of course, they go a long way, don't they? Just someone remembering your birthday or your anniversary and so on. And then again, hassle-free time off management. So of course that covers both the sick time and the holiday time that your staff will undoubtedly have as they go through their time of employment with you. So we have got some processes set up around those. So there's good reasons to look for a HR solution, and of course HR, certainly with the partners that I work with, is becoming more and more and more of a conversation. We are seeing that people, of course, are very, very sensitive around that personal data and making sure that they're now following all those legislative needs. So we're looking at every company that may have a need for staff and managing of those staff files are absolutely going to have a need that DocuWare can fulfill. And of course, that doesn't come away from the people who already use things like HR systems and specialist systems for these types of solutions. Because don't forget, of course, working with some of our technical partners today, we can start to look at those integration options where actually DocuWare is focusing on what it's really, really strong at, and then passing that data over to those other systems where they're already in place. Of course, the idea there is let's have systems doing what they're both very, very good at, and let's have the best solution that's physically possible. We'll start to remove some of those manual processes and replace them with our digital automated world, where of course we start to let the computer and the human work together. Of course, gets the best optimism for any business. We'll start to request from ADPs. So of course, you're going to start to get some requests as more and more information goes out to the market, and hopefully with it as a team, we'll be able to arm you the best way possible to be able to support those requests that you're starting to get coming in. So let's have a look. How do we explore that solution? Well, we've brought a lot in. So the first thing is, of course, how do we start to make decisions to recruit new people? And what's the process that we actually go through there? So what DocuWare is going to allow you to do is have a nice simple form with a workflow behind that form that's going to start routing round and getting approval or rejection for any budget that may need to be assigned. We'll also go through the process of receiving applications, and then of course scheduling those interviews that we may actually start to go ahead and complete when we're bringing on new members of staff. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, if unfortunately someone is unsuccessful as part of their interview process, we have got a really nice talent pool that we'll be able to store people's data in, and then of course delete it when it's appropriate to do so. The onboarding process is fully taken care of. So we've got automatic requests going out both internally to our members of staff, but also to our applicants so that they know exactly what's going on. Gives them opportunity to start interacting with some of those forms and being able to pass their data on before they even start with the business. So right from the application process, they're able to start getting involved, which of course, as we all know, keeps people engaged really, really nicely. We can go through to the equipment element. I'm sure all of us have seen businesses in those states where actually they've got a new person starting. They're starting tomorrow, and suddenly someone says, forgot to order their laptop, and so on. So of course we can go ahead and support through that equipment management and starting to bring it on board. And then of course the electronic signatures. I'm not going to do too much with electronic signatures today, but I'm sure as most of you are aware, DocuWare has a really nice electronic signatures module that can be used to support those signing of contracts and so on and so forth as well. As I say, I won't be touching too much on electronic signature today, so if you do want more information on that subject, please reach out, and certainly someone will be very happy to support you in that conversation. So let's think about personal files. Of course, the nuts and bolts of our HR departments. Gone are the days where lots and lots of departments are storing things in file cabinets, in folders. Of course, we do see those from time to time still, but I think most companies are now starting to join that digital journey. So bringing those digital files into that safe, secure, and of course, compliant location where we're actually managing who can have access to information and controlling what information is stored for what periods of time and so on and so forth, of course, is really, really powerful. Time off management. Well, of course, this can take two routes, can't it? We can go through our sick leave, where actually I might wake up, I'm not very well. Gone are the days really where I can telephone into an office, get put through to my manager. Of course, business is no longer done between four walls, and we are seeing more and more companies taking that remote working process and really kind of working with that. So being able to fill in a simple form just to let people know that unfortunately I'm not very well and I won't be in today really does help to start that process. Everyone knows, everyone's aware, and of course if anyone needs to confirm these datas, then of course that can happen as part of our processes. Our holidays, again, I can have a simple request. I can complete it from anywhere on the planet, any time of day or night using our powerful web forms that you'll find within the DocuWare solution. And then again, just to recap what we touched on earlier, really the offboarding process, a brand new process within the new solution, and one that I'm sure lots of you may have asked us about at some point. Certainly, I know it was one of the key things that I got told was missing from the last solution. So hopefully some happy faces to know that that has now been brought in. There are some additional benefits, and I touched on some of them earlier. So notifications and the niceties of letting people know that it's someone in your team's birthday or work anniversary, and so on. Really, really powerful, and gives that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. We do, of course, meet those GDPR requirements, and we'll set those data retention policies around your business processes, business policies, and of course, those legislative needs that are now with us right here in the UK. And then, of course, automated processes that handle data, storage of candidate and talent pool information, and just making sure that we're controlling documents and data in exactly the right way, as we should. So the solution is now here. I believe it is now released, so you will be able to get your hands on it straight after this webinar. If anyone does have any questions and needs help as they start to download this and start to play with them themselves, please do feel free to reach out to me. You'll see my contact details at the end. As I say, I recognise lots of the names on the call, so so please do reach out to me. Or equally, one of my colleagues, your regional sales director, will be very happy to support you through the conversations that you require in that relation. So how do we do that? Well, you'll be able to go straight to our partner portal. I'm sure most of you have been able to download cloud trials in the past. Well, this has now been added to that same portal. So as you go to the employee management element of the trial section in the partner portal, you will see in that list for UK and other countries. So you can go ahead and select that in the normal way, and of course you'll be able to go ahead and download that process. You'll get marketing information, so of course there will be videos, there will be flyers and PowerPoints and presentation scripts and so on. Absolutely everything will be made available to you straight after this webinar. So if you've not seen them already, please feel free to head over there and have a look. They're all in one nice handy resources page, so everything's kept nice and together for you there. Okay, so probably without further ado, should we have a little look at it? So we'll skip over, and hopefully you can all see my main DocuWare screen there. And I signed in as 3 different people initially. So the first one, of course, is Simon Stone. You may all be aware of Simon. He's been around our demos for quite some time. So Simon Stone is going to take the role of our HR director today. So he's going to be doing a lot of that HR onboarding process and the HR work that comes with supporting the onboarding of any new member of staff. The second person that I've logged into from the beginning is a gentleman called Fred Winner. Now, Fred's going to take the role of our sales director today. So he heads up our sales department, and you'll see why I've selected Fred in just a few moments. The final one that I've signed in as today is Peter King. Now, Peter's going to take the role of our CEO today. So he'll be getting some approvals that we're asking for, different information as we start to go through our process. I've also broken down our introduction to the system today into bite-sized pieces. So the first thing we'll do is go through that onboarding of a new member of staff and the things that are involved within that process. We'll also touch very briefly on the sick leave elements, and we'll show you how some of that comes together. If we have time today, I'll focus a little bit on holidays. The reason I've put them to as separate is that they are reasonably similar, so you'll be able to see some of that, but I'll cover both off providing we have time today. And then finally, we will go through an offboarding process where we'll start to say goodbye to a member of staff, and we'll show you what we've got set up for that as well. So without excuse me, so without further ado, let's jump into our first login, and I'm going to go to Fred Winner. Now, where I'm going to pick our demo up today is that Fred's made a decision. He wants to hire in a new salesperson, and he's going to bring a person in to broaden his sales team and actually be able to take on more workload within his organization. Now, the first thing Fred can do, of course, is have a look at what other positions are already open. Is anything available? And within our lists, you'll be able to see I've got an open positions list that's already created. Now we can see that Fred's already hiring for a sales manager, but he wants to add on a salesperson into that list as well. So to do that, he's got a nice simple form, and we'll just go into our web forms here and we can see the recruitment request form. Because the first thing I need to do is actually make sure that the business is happy to assign budget for me to be able to bring this person on board. So in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I made earlier. So I've literally just completed our form and I've put in a junior sales executive is what I'd like to look to hire, someone we can train from the ground up in the way we do that there. I'll select our department and we can see within our lists in my department, I have a few different elements here, and I'll just correct that to sales so that it's the right one that I send in. We'll see the document ID has already been added, so it knows it's Fred that's going ahead and completing that. And of course, all these are flexible fields, so I filled these in just in preparation for today's demo. I can go ahead and select the working days. Now, of course, that may be different for part-time workers and full-time workers and so on and so forth. And of course, dependent on whether you're a 7-day business or whether a 5-day business. Of course, they can go ahead and be completed really simply just by clicking on our little tick boxes there. Select our planned start date, and you'll notice that some of these fields are mandatory fields, others are open to be left blank. Of course, within your system and your client systems, we can make as many of these fields mandatory as we so wish or so need. I've put in an authorizer, so we can ask Peter King to go ahead and authorize that we can start to look for a new person, and that we do have budget to be able to do that. And of course, if you're a business that needs more than one option there to approve that, of course we can add those second ones in. They're already pre-built within the system. A little bit of a description around this, the role that we're looking for, the function of that role, and then finally the candidate profile. Now, of course, I've kept these very, very simple today, purely for demo purposes. But of course, in your live environments, you're likely to have a little bit more information in here, I would guess. But of course, they can be completed at your leisure. Once we're happy, we'll go ahead and submit our request form. Excuse me. Nice clear message, so it doesn't matter how techie or non-techie our people are, we get a nice clear message to let us know our form has been submitted successfully, and I can go ahead and carry on with my working day. Now, of course, as we submitted that, you'll notice that I submitted the approver as Peter King. So at this stage, I'll just jump over to Peter's login here, and we'll see that as we do, Peter's received a task. So straight away, if I go into Peter's task here, this is asking him to go ahead and approve a new position. So let's have a look. We'll see the form has been created and the details have been merged into our business document that needs to be viewed there. And I have the opportunity to either approve, modify the request, or reject it. Now, for the purpose of today, I am going to go ahead and approve that because it would make my demo very, very short if I go ahead and reject it. So we'll go ahead and just approve that particular request. So at this stage, we've had the request from the hiring manager. Our CEO has gone ahead and approved that he agrees we can go ahead and hire a new person into the sales team. So the next logical people for us to let know about this process is, of course, our HR team. Let's jump over to Simon. Let's have a look what Simon can do. And we'll see Simon's gone ahead and received a task there. So just by accessing that task, we'll see that we're being asked to open a new position. That position is for a junior sales executive, and of course, it was approved by Peter Sanders. So as my document comes through, that'll come through any second. No, it really will. There it is. So my document has come through, it's been approved, and we can go ahead and open a new position. Now, of course, we never know what the world's going to hold for us, so there may be times when we have to postpone that particular hire. And if that is the case, then of course we can start to go ahead and add different data into there to let us know when we're going to do it. However, for the purpose of today, we'll go ahead and we'll open that new position. So a couple of things will have happened in the background. Of course, the position will now show as open. So if I jump back to Fred's option here, you'll notice, as if by magic, that just refreshed in perfect timing for me there, and it's added an extra position as an open position for me. So the junior sales executive is now available to be applied for. And of course, we can go ahead and start making our adverts and putting out our requests to encourage people to go ahead and apply. So at this stage, let's have a look, because we've built an application form within the system. So although there's nothing stopping you sending CVs in via email, just as we used to do in the old solutions, one additional benefit of the new one is that we now have a nice application form that has been included within the system for you there. So we can go ahead and use our drop-down menu to see what we're applying for. Now, of course, this drop-down menu will only be populated with the open positions that are actually available. So in this case, you'll now see junior sales executive has been populated into our lists there. We'll go ahead and just complete some details. So this one will be for another probably familiar name to most of you, Peter Sanders. He can live at 123 Street. He can live in Birmingham. BP12 BP. That's in the West Midlands. We'll use my email address today just for speed of use. And we'll just put a telephone number in there. I can tell you when my earliest start date would be, of course, taking into account the notice periods that I might have to give, so on and so forth. And again, start to give you some of my social media, LinkedIn type things for you to have a look at. We've got a nice list there for our how we heard about you. Of course, not a mandatory field, but we can go ahead and put that in as well. Employee referral probably isn't a good one there, but we'll choose Indeed. That's a nice simple one, I suppose. Nationality, of course, we have lots of options there, but for the purpose of today, I will remain English, and I'll go ahead and add that into to my list. I don't need a work permit, so I can leave that blank, and I can say that actually I would have an expected salary of around 40,000 as well. I have got some options where I can go ahead and upload some of the documents. So in this case, it's probably worth me adding at least my CV, I would say. So I've just popped some documents into a file here, and we'll go ahead and import my CV onto that form as well. We'll go ahead and accept the T's and C's, the data privacy statements, and we'll go ahead and submit that application into the system. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. Again, nice clear message there to let me know that someone's going to reach out. So again, no matter how techie or non-techie those applicants might be, they're getting nice clear messaging all the way through their process. But let's have a look. So if I come back to Simon Stone here, again, you'll see he's just received a task. And by going into that task, we'll see we now have an application. And we can go through this application process and start making some decisions as to whether this person is someone we would like to move forward and interview or not. So in this case, I have a choice. So what I'll do here is I can see the application form. I can also start to review his CV, which is of course attached to that document as well. So all that information is there available to me, and I might choose to do one of a few things. I could choose to reject Peter's application at this stage. Now, of course, if I do that, that will trigger an email back out to Peter, letting him know that apologies, but unfortunately on this occasion, you haven't been successful within your application process. However, we do wish you all the best for the future, of course. I could choose to enter him into the talent pool. Now, if I choose to do that, exactly the same process will happen. So of course, Peter would be updated and given that piece of bad news. But of course, we would store that information for future opportunities. So in that case, we would be telling him that we will be storing his data for a period of time as well. And we can see that I can say why that's going to be the case, and so on and so forth. You can also see it's pulled through the applicant details from the form that I filled out earlier. So again, all that information is starting to be brought through the system and used as well. I can schedule an interview, which I could go ahead and do straight away. You can see I've also got internal attendees that I'm asking to set up straight away as part of my request. So that would automatically go to the hiring manager, Fred Winner, and I can start to make some decisions based on the interview that I want to set. Or finally, I could go through one more step. So actually, maybe, although yes, this person looks good, maybe I'm not the final decision maker as to whether we go ahead and interview Peter or not. And in that case, we would be able to go into our supervisor approval. We'll see that Fred has already been populated as our hiring manager. We can add others into there should we wish to. And I can just tell him, please can you have a look? Please have a look and decide on an interview. And by doing that, I can, of course, go ahead and just submit that through for Fred to have a look at and start making a decision. So let's have a look. As I jump back to Fred, we'll see he's received a follow-up task there. Here is his supervisor review options. We can see it's brought through the details of who the applicant is and the role that they've applied for. And of course, as most of you will be familiar with, we've added a stamp to the document, and my notes just asking him to please have a look and decide on interview would be available to him as well. Exactly the same with Simon. I can go ahead and have a look at his CV as well. So I have access to all of the same information that the HR department would have been able to make their decisions, and I can start to make my decisions as well. So in this case, of course, I can go ahead and reject the application at this stage. Any notes that I put into that rejection would also be populated into the email, and that of course will go back out to Peter just to let him know that unfortunately on this occasion he isn't going to be moving forward for interview. Or of course, for the purpose of today, we'll go ahead and start to schedule an interview. So we'll put yes please interview, and we'll go ahead and start to schedule that. Now, of course, just by going through that simple process, we can bounce that request back to Simon, and he can go ahead and start to assign the interview itself. But of course, you can see some nice, clear visual audit trails being added to that document. So we can see where it was passed through. We can see where it was approved for interview. All those notes and comments that were put into the fields have all been populated into those stamps, and we can go ahead and set an interview. So I'm going to say we're going to be really efficient in our process today. So I'm going to set that interview for tomorrow. We'll call it 12 o'clock. That's fine. We can see it's automatically asked Fred to go ahead and join us, and I can start to make a decision. Is this going to be an in-person interview where we invite Peter to come and join us, or do we want to do it remotely? For the purpose of today, we'll do an in-person. However, of course, a remote interview would generate a link so that we're able to go ahead and invite someone via a Teams link as well. We can choose to send an email to the applicant. I would say it's definitely going to be the case that we're going to want to do that. But on the off chance that maybe we don't, we could go ahead and contact them by phone. So of course that is your choice. We've also broken down the second boxes here, and these boxes are really nice. So the internal comments will never be seen by the external applicant. So I might want to say really good option. Let's have a chat. And then I might say, well, can't wait to see you on the day. And I'll even correct my typos there. So again, we can start to break down so that the internal people see different messages to the external people simply by going ahead and completing our task there. Oops. Would look like we appear to have broken it, and that's because I should have said yes and not chosen my email. So again, probably a mistake there from me, but probably a good one that you've been able to see that actually it won't allow me to move forward if I've got the wrong data in the boxes. It will force me to use a uniform fashion in the way the system would want us to. So we'll go ahead and just process that one through, and it will set the interview up for me. So let's skip forward just a few moments. At this stage, we've gone through our process of assigning a budget, and we went through to Peter for him to request that. We've gone through the process of receiving an application, and we've made our decision and set those interview rules for that particular solution as well. So at this stage, because I set the interview within the next 24 hours, I now get a task that comes back to me. So within that task, it's now going to ask me to conduct the interview and tell them the results. You'll notice my visual audit trails are still continuing to build on the application as well. So I'm getting nice, clear information, and I can start to make those final decisions again. Am I going to send them through to the talent pool? Just highlight how long I want to keep them for and let them know I've done that. I'll maybe put them on hold if there's going to be a freeze on hiring, or we know we have to hold on while we do some other interviews and so on and so forth. And we can start to put in a date when we want to make our final decision on who we're going to hire. I might choose to invite them to a follow-up interview where maybe we invite other people from the team in and so on. And then finally, I might choose to go ahead and hire Peter. Well, for the purpose of today, I'm going to say that, you know what, Peter had a really good interview. So we're going to go ahead and hire Peter today. So we'll click on there and just go ahead and hire him. Now at this stage, we do start to move, and because I'm not going to touch on digital signature today, I'm just going to bring in a contract for Peter. Now, of course, in live environments, you might choose to also set up that digital signature profile, and of course we can go ahead and do that. However, just for speed today, and I'm conscious of time, we'll go ahead and just bring in a contract that I have set up for Peter. So that will come into our system, and I'm going to go ahead and just store that away into our contracts area. Which I can't see. There it is. There we go. So we'll bring that in as a signed employee contract. Now, of course, as many of you are aware, we could switch on intelligent indexing there as well and go ahead and start to index some of these documents. For the purpose of today, I want to highlight how easy it is to use our one-touch or one-click indexing for the purpose of today. However, of course, that would be set up based on the different requirements of the customer at your stage. We can go ahead and give him an email address, which I will just use mine for the purpose of today. The date, we'll use today's date, and we'll go ahead and give him a department, which, as we said, was sales. So for the purpose of today, we'll go ahead and just store away our contract. Excuse me. Now, by storing away that contract, you'll see I get a follow-up task. And as I go into my task here, we'll see that we can begin the onboarding process. So I get to add some of my data. Again, I could choose to still put this recruitment process on hold should I wish to. I can still cancel the process if that anything becomes an issue and I need to do that. But for the purpose of today, we'll go ahead and just add the data and equipment that might be required. So we are going to say yes, we'll send an email to our supervisor. We can give them a link to the form if we so want to as well. Oops. And we'll give them a start date of, actually give them a start date of the 1st, since that's when I said was the first day possible. So once we confirm that, oops, again, I've done that again, haven't I? yes, and we'll go ahead and little gremlin in the system there. Live demos, who'd have them? There we go. There's the problem. I've gone ahead and submitted that wrong information there. So again, just those catch-alls, just to let you know that if the wrong information has been put in there, it will catch you out and let you go ahead and just update that as well. So at this stage, I've gone ahead and submitted the information. As a HR team, we've now come to the end of our initial process. So at this stage, where do we go now? Well, we'll jump back into that hiring manager, because at this stage, it's probably logical that decisions have been made. We are going to hire a new person. We are going to onboard that new person. We've gone through that process of selecting an interview. And as a hiring manager, I can now start to make some decisions over what I want to give to this person. So rather than waiting right to the last minute, I'm able to go into my forms and we'll see we've got a nice equipment form here. So at this stage, we can go ahead and start to complete the equipment form. So we can go to Peter Sanders. We know his start date is going to be the 1st of next month. We know he's going to be joining our sales team, and we know the position he's going to be joining us as is junior sales executive. Excuse me. I can request an email address so that, of course, as I send this form in, IT go ahead and create him an email address. If I want to make it specific, then I can give them some suggestions as to what we might like it to be. I can start to issue him with a computer. I could give him a phone. He'll probably need some headphones and maybe a keyboard and a mouse. Won't need an office phone. We'll give him Office. He can have access to SAP, Power BI. He may need a desk and a chair for at home, and so on and so forth. We'll definitely get him a t-shirt, an ID badge, an access key. We'll tell him definitely a DocuWare ID will be needed. So we'll go ahead and generate him a DocuWare ID. An office phone number, probably not as important, because as a salesman, he'll be on his mobile most of the time, I would guess. Any additional notes I want to give to our IT team, just to let them know what's going on, I can go ahead and input into that area as well. But for the purpose of now, I think we can go ahead and submit our request for equipment. Again, nice clear box there to let me know what's going on and let me know that that things are happening. And if I just jump into our Peter King login here, I'm just going to log in as our IT person. Let's have a look what they see. So Brian Ford is the person that's going to be heading up our IT team for the purpose of today. So let's log in as Brian. And we'll see as I log in as Brian, we get a task that's come through to him, and there is our task. So it's asking me to go ahead and order some equipment for Peter. I can go ahead and have a look through what it's requesting me to order and start to make some decisions. So it may be that actually I can say, well, actually we don't have the equipment. We can put we can say the equipment's ordered, and I can start to break down what I've ordered. You'll see that comes down into a table field at the bottom here, so that I can start to highlight what's been ordered and so on and so forth there as well. I open that up, you'll be able to see those fields in a bit more detail as well. So we've got, of course, an ID number. If I'm tracking ID numbers of equipment, we can see serial numbers. If I'm tracking those, license types, usernames, statuses, so on and so forth. So of course that's going to be if I've needed to order equipment. I may choose to modify the order. It might be that I say actually iPhone 14s are no longer available, you need to have a different model or so on. Or actually I might say, do you know what, we have all the equipment, it's absolutely fine. We'll go ahead and set him an email address, which will be my email address for the purpose of today. And there we go. So we'll be able to go through. I can start to open this up, make it nice and easy for me there. I can start to assign ID numbers should I wish to. Just make them nice and simple for the purpose of what we're doing today. Is that everything? Shouldn't have given him so many things, should I? There we go. Okay, so we can start to see that we can start to assign anything I want to assign in there, any user that's applicable, and so on and so forth. And we can request anything that happens to be available for us at that stage. So quickly and easily, we're able to track what pieces of equipment we have, what we don't have, and quickly and easily, we're able to go ahead and say what we've got. So very simple, we can onboard that equipment stage. So at this stage, we're going to start to process through and bring together all of that information, start to get ready for Peter to join us today, and start to open up his first day and make sure everything is ready for him. Now, just in the interest of time, I'm just looking at the time there, and I'm just seeing that we're going to run out of time very shortly. So to make this really quick, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump out of Brian Ford here, and I'm going to sign in as Peter Sanders. Now, the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm keen that we show you some of that time off process, because I know that is different to what we did in the other demo, or the other pre-configured solution, should I say. Okay, so if I come into Peter's login here, very quickly, Peter's able to have a look at some of the other processes. So if we think at the moment, Peter's now onboarded as a new member of staff, and he needs to go ahead and start completing his day-to-day roles. So let's say, for instance, I wake up and actually I'm not very well. I can go ahead, access my forms. I can access these from anywhere on the planet, any time of day or night, providing I have permission to do so. I can go ahead and access those forms. I can access my sick leave element and just start to let people know that actually I'm not very well, and unfortunately I'm going to have to take today off. We'll hope to be back tomorrow. And if I've got a doctor's note, then I can go ahead and attach that to my form as well. There's a sick note for Peter. So we'll go ahead and we're able to submit that straight into the system for Peter to be able to take that day off. Now, of course, as you would expect, our tasks will go ahead and kick in. So if I jump back over to Fred's login here, and we'll just give that page a little nudge to refresh it, it will let him know in just a few moments that I'm not going to be able to attend work today. And then, of course, once that's completed, it will jump over into Simon's tasks as well. But for now, we'll just give Fred just a little nudge as that comes through into his tasks. There we go. It will come through in just a second. Gonna think about it. There we go. So obviously it's not coming through at this stage, so apologies for that, guys. But I can assure you that obviously in this system, as it goes through its refreshes, it will of course assign a task into Fred so that he can go ahead and accept the fact that it is going to be a day off for Peter there. So at this stage, I think probably a good time to draw our demo to a close. I'm looking at that clock and I'm conscious of us running out of time, and of course I do want to give you time for questions as well. However, there are a couple of bits that, of course, as you know, we haven't covered today. So please do reach out to your regional sales directors. They will be happy to take you through this demo as well. And of course, they'll show you the system, they'll show you how it works. And Peter, of course, will get his task at the end of the process there. So I'm sure there's some of you with questions in our audience, so keen to give you the opportunity to ask them. So at this stage, I'm not sure, Matt, whether you have some questions for us that maybe haven't been covered off, or anything that you'd like us to answer on the call today. Is the pre-configured only in English, no Dutch version? So we do have other versions that are on the way. So yeah, sorry, I can't see who asked that question, but yes, there are going to be other versions of this solution as well. I know we're currently working on Italian, so yeah, watch this space, I guess. The English one is the next one, but Dutch, of course, will be coming. Thank you, Frank. Some good comments there. So yeah, it's certainly an extensive system. So probably one of the most extensive systems we've released as a pre-configured solution. So yeah, it certainly takes a little bit more time to go through. But of course, for your customers, you're going to get quite specific on the areas that they want. But yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It's great to have those extra facilities within the system as well there. Yeah, so again, Mike, thanks for the feedback. You're absolutely right. Of course, dead simple to start rebranding some of those forms and things like that. And you're absolutely right. It looks really nice when you've got things that are really kind of branded to that corporate identity and so on. And I don't know about you, but I'm certainly getting asked about that more and more and more as times goes on. Are we going to receive the recording of the session? Yep, so the recording will be available on the website. That will go ahead and be approved and sent out as normal. So please do look out for the recording. But of course, in the meantime, if you do want to create recordings yourselves and you want support with that, please do reach out to those regional sales directors. We're all more than happy to help, and of course, we'll support you through creating some of those videos for you to use personally internally as well. A couple of thank yous. So thank you very much for your time as well. I appreciate we've taken quite a chunk today. An hour for a webinar is quite a lot. So thank you very much for your attendance and of course your attention for quite a long period.